live, apparently, in a three-dimensional world of space-time. We live in space and we create time in the way we move from one place to another. This is how time apparently happens. It wasn't there before, or it was there before, but it wasn't linear. And if you read all this modern science, everybody now says this fourth dimension of time was always there, and we move through time in order to create space. I didn't understand this as a child. As a child, I just knew it. I knew all kinds of things which I usually got laughed at for. I knew that on my chair, there was somebody else sitting at the same time as me, in the same space as me, but this other being was so enormous and so all-powerful that I didn't disturb it. And it was sort of transparent, translucent plasma. I didn't know what, but I knew that it didn't disturb me. And I knew that we were both there, or maybe even more. Maybe there were 3 or 4. I knew that in my garden there were angels. I used to play with them. But of course, when you tell your mother there are angels in the garden, she said, come, yeah, you were just dreaming. Don't take any notice of that. And so gradually I began to drop all these ideas, put them aside, and they came up in my dreams. Now, what are dreams? Brain researchers have all kinds of explanation for dreams, but what they don't have an explanation for is lucid dreaming. These dreams when we think, this is really happening. It's not a dream where when I wake up, I'll think, oh, thank God, that's over. It's where I am actually alive in a different place. And in one of these lucid dreams, I remember going up above the world and flying around, not in a spaceship, just me. And I looked down and I could see all the countries and the sea. And after that, sometime we went on holiday to the beach. And I remember standing with my toes in the water, in the sea, and being overcome with emotion at the knowledge that I was standing on that place where England ends and the Atlantic begins. This was overwhelming for me emotionally. And I spent the rest of the afternoon just sitting on the sand, reflecting on the magnitude of life. Yeah, but normal everyday life takes over and I forgot all these things. I lived some of it, but I never thought much about it until I can't even remember why I bought Stephen Hawking's Brief History of Time. I didn't understand everything. I was abominable at maths. I really was terrible. But somehow I understood between the lines. And the one thing that really struck me was him saying, we are beginning to feel, not think. We are beginning to feel that we understand how the universe works, but we still don't know why it's there. And I thought, if the greatest scientific minds of the present are still unsure of the why, then there's so much more to know. And what really fascinated me is how they're beginning to approach the same knowledge through their measurements and inquiry as ancient civilizations knew, even without being able to measure things. So there are things that we can know without having to measure them. But it was time, space, time that really fascinated me. And I got my dreaming back. One dream, I had time explained to me. And I want to share that with you. I was a caterpillar, and I've drawn this caterpillar so that you can understand exactly what I mean. I drew that this morning. This was me. And I was a completely normal caterpillar, except that I had two heads. That was the one going forwards, and that was the one looking back at where I'd come from. And out of each section of my body, there were big things like paddles, and they were so long that if I were to bend in one direction, as here, whoops, backwards, they knocked together. And so I couldn't bend anymore. Or here, they've all knocked together and I can't bend anymore. And because I can't bend, I can't go round in circles. All I can do is go forwards with a certain amount of moving from one side to the other. And I was munching my way through the leaves of a tree. And this tree had leaves around it like a fan, and they were all piled up against each other. And they were very juicy leaves. And as I moved from one leaf and munched my way into the next leaf, I got a little glimpse between the leaves. And for one split second in my life, I went, ah, now I get it. I can't explain to you what it was that I got, but I remember the feeling. And although I love living and I want to live for a very long time, I'm really looking forward to passing on to this other realm to find out what it is that I got in that moment.